Or do we?
Oh. Felt like that music could have been playing right now. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that sounds good. Which floor?
I mean, this is perfect weight music.
It is
yeah. We only have 3, so we'll get there.
Well, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Can you see this guy?
Yep.
Sweet.
Sure can.
I got nervous again.
You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
Welcome to Thunderheads Weekly Wrap-Up. If you're joining us on YouTube Live, we're psyched to have you. I'm Brandon Soul, joined by the Doctor, Rob Larson.
What is up?
Not much. I was prepared for a new question.
I did once too.
Yeah.
So I heard it's not a good one.
Oh,
I heard a
oh
joke.
no, here we go.
No, but don't think too much about it. But I did hear this last night.
Too late.
So somebody told me, which I had never thought about this before, but you know how in Toy Story, like the toys play without the kids there, obviously. Mm-hmm. But what happens whenever the toys die?
Yeah. Well, are they actually? I mean, I guess they are alive, but
yeah.
Well, the other toys.
Yeah. So to the other toys, like if a toy dies, then like you have the kids playing with their dead friends.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I was really thinking about that because I used to love Toy Story. And
kind of
it kind of ruins it for me. Yeah. I started questioning a lot more than I should have.
Yeah, it gets dark.
That is, I mean,
Pixar went dark.
Speaking of dark and stormy, Jason Lewis is with
us.
Today we're going to ask if the Thunder had a successful week. They were 3-1. We'll talk about Corey Brewer's debut. We'll talk about Russ's play as of late, some bench talk, and we're going to play a game of the good old-fashioned legitimate or preposterous.
Yes.
But first, instead of a disaster of the week this week,
switching it up.
Yeah, we're switching it up a little bit because I felt it appropriate to go on the flip side of this. And there was a really cool story that happened this week, and you guys are probably familiar with it. The Florida school shooting that happened. That's not the cool story, obviously. Nope. That happened, 2 weeks ago or something like that? And then one of the kids that was murdered in that was buried in a Dwayne Wade jersey. Have you guys seen this? His name was Joaquin Oliver. I'm pretty sure I feel like that's right. Buried in Dwayne Wade's jersey. He was his favorite player, huge Heat fan. So that's kind of a cool deal. I think it touched Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade, when he found out about it, wrote his name, Joaquin Oliver's name, on his shoe and dedicated the game to him.
Isn't that where he hit a game winner?
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. And then he goes out there, and closing minutes of the game, they're playing Philadelphia in Miami. It's a tie game. It's Philadelphia's ball with less than, 20 seconds left. And Dwayne Wade intentionally fouls Ben Simmons. Intentionally fouls him when you're in a tie game, which is the total wrong thing to do. Why would you do that? But basically dared him to go make both because I want the ball back. I want the last shot, and I want to win this game. And Ben Simmons goes and hits one shot. Dwayne Wade gets it back. Refuses to pass. Dribbles around the entire half court. Looks like a terrible possession. Steps back in Ben Simmons' face. Drains it. Wins the game for Miami. Just a really cool story. And so if you hadn't seen that, I wanted to share that because you don't get things like that all the time.
It's really awesome. And I remember, I guess whenever he heard about the kid getting buried in his jersey or whatever, he had, tweeted out, you guys are about to make me cry right now or something. Mm-hmm. And, it was cool that he was, did that for him.
It's just cool and refreshing to hear, a good story. But, there's a way that stuff kind of seems to work out sometimes, It's just, picture perfect, and it's just... he needed that motivation, and it just was perfect.
Yeah.
Because Dwayne Wade's clearly past his prime. Yeah. Goes and makes an awesome...
a little flashback, though.
Yeah, a little flashback, and he can still make shots. He's still not afraid of the moment, and that was just really, really cool.
Agreed.
All right, but next week, if you have a disaster of the week in the future, send it to us, because we might feature it right here on the podcast.
Indeed.
And this week, honestly, we just didn't have any good ones. Thought it was a good opportunity to share this. But the Thunder, as I referred to earlier, 3-1 week, but... Not an ideal 3-1 week, although at this point, I don't know if beggars can be choosers. We can't really be picky with this team.
Wins are wins.
But before we get there, let's get all caught up with Rob's rundown.
All right, so as Brandon said, we got 4 games to talk about. The first one was versus the Magic. Really rough first quarter, especially defensively for the Thunder. They really kicked it into gear, especially in the third, where they only allowed the Magic to score 15 points. Pretty even fourth quarter. Thunder win 112-105. And then the bench was really the big story here. The second half probably contribute this win a lot to the bench, especially just having them step up in that way.
Definitely. Four
really
guys
good
in
to see.
4 guys in double figures off the bench, only 2 in the starting lineup.
Wasn't that like the third time that's ever happened in Thunder history or something?
Good question. I mean, that sounds right.
I remember BD saying something like that. But
You look at those second half numbers. Like the bench, you had Felton plus 12, Patterson plus 10, Grant plus 9, Ferguson plus 7. I mean, just the contribution from the bench. Whenever you do have Russ struggling in the second half, 1 for 7, just the fact that they could sort of rely on those guys was really good to see.
it was
8 points for Russ. Weird.
so strange.
Super weird.
3 for 12 from the field. It's not. I mean, it wasn't one of those games where he's just jacking up a bunch of shots. He just couldn't get anything to fall. Only took 1 3-pointer. Just could never get it going. Luckily, Paul George had a decent game, 26 points on 20 shots, and you have Steven Adams, of course, who gets off to a crazy hot start that game, as he tends to do. And you kind of go away from him. I'm sure we'll probably talk about that a little bit today.
Next game was at Dallas. Sort of the typical Thunder game we've seen this season. Thunder came out pretty strong in the first, 32 points, lead by 11. Then you look at the third quarter, it's kind of the exact opposite. They give up 33 points. They get outscored by 10. We got an overtime game. Russ, who really struggled in that, especially in that second half.
0 for 8.
Yeah. Russ had 7 of the Thunder's 11 in overtime. Thunder win by 111 to 110. 22 lead changes in the first two games that we talked about in the game, and 20 ties. Like the amount of just back and forth against these, inferior teams is not good.
And when you put it like that, I don't know whether to take that as a good thing or a bad thing. That obviously the Thunder come out on top in both of those games, so it feels like a good thing. A win is a win. You don't get any extra points for winning by 20. But these are bad teams, and it'd be nice to blow them out sometimes. And it gets frustrating at a certain point when in the first quarter you see, like you said, Rob, Thunder outscored Dallas 32 to 21 in complete control. It had 38 to 24 at one point. But if you've watched this team all year, they're coming back. Yep. They're coming back, and they might win. You might lose the game, So
late in that game, they got it to overtime, but there were points like with 2.5 minutes left, a minute and a half left, where the Thunder are down, and it's like, God, they desperately have to score here, and like that's a terrible feeling against the Mavericks,
a team that's kind of had the Thunder's number this year in a certain way.
It's weird,
yeah.
But it's worrisome because you don't have faith that this team can go get that bucket sometimes. Like that's scary against a team like the Mavs or Phoenix. It's like, can we score?
That's actually a great point. And it feels like the only way that they can score sometimes is it has to be Russ.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't seen a lot of last-minute Paul George buckets this year. You've probably seen more Carmelo Anthony buckets than Paul George at the end of games. But, they pull out the win. There was a couple – I didn't even get to bring it up last pod when we actually talked a little bit about this game. But, man, Doug McDermott, like you said, Rob, the Mavs were up like 7 with 2.5 minutes left or something, and it felt like, oh my God, this might be over. Doug McDermott got like open look after open look from 3 and was missing them, luckily. Just barely. He makes one of those, Thunder probably lose this game.
For sure.
Next game was at the Suns. The Thunder struggled defensively in the first half. 67 points that they gave up in that first half. The Suns had 90 points a little over halfway through the third quarter. Like that, to me, like just watching that, I don't know, and that's not missing Robertson. Like there's obviously one, and it's one game. Like that's a really bad game, but there's more there than just missing one player. In the second half, the Thunder outscored the Suns by 15. Just really took over the game. Thunder win 124 to 116. Russ 43 points on 25 shots. If he's going to be getting to the rim like he was, attacking in that way, that's going to be a complete win there. Whenever you can get that many points off of Russ with kind of that much efficiency, which is not the trend and something we'll talk about a little bit more, but just Russ's play and the inefficiency of Russ.
Well, you look at his shot chart that night. He took 3 shots outside of the paint that weren't threes. So non-paint twos, 3 shots, missed them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 shots in the paint.
I thought you were just going to keep going.
Sorry, just count. I can watch how high.
25 is how I can count. That's how high.
It's 26. No. So he takes 9 shots in the paint. Like you said, Rob, attacking the rim at will.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because it was something that was there. If he realized that's what he needed to do. He had the extra energy.
Right.
I don't know, but it worked. And
Well-
his jumper has been not there lately. And so it was nice to see that he attacks the rim like that.
For sure. And one weird thing about this game is that the third quarter was our best quarter. And that keeps being our worst quarter.
Offensively, at least.
Yeah. We scored 37 in that quarter. And all these other games where it's like, oh, God, we keep giving it up in that quarter somehow.
And it was another clutch performance by Russ, too. Just clutch buckets, jump shots, too, which I wanted to bring up later. But basically the only time that he can seemingly make a jump shot right now during the stretch is in the last 2 minutes of games, which is kind of weird.
And you just expect it to go in at that point.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so this last game was at Portland. Bit of a frustrating game. Thunder on the third game in 4 nights. The Thunder had no answer for the Blazers bench. Myers Leonard, he got just under 9 minutes. He was a -1. But you look at the other 4 guys on their bench, plus 12, plus 13, plus 17, and plus 18.
Mm-hmm.
Another back-and-forth game, 18 lead changes. Thunder just didn't have enough late. Couldn't keep up with the Blazers late. Thunder dropped this one 108-100.
Man, honestly, I just don't think the Thunder played a very good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't.
Start to finish. And the crazy thing is they're there. They
Yeah,
could
it was
have won that game.
winnable the whole time.
Yep.
Well, I think what you saw there, so Portland, who has jumped up in the standings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you saw
They're playing well lately.
They were able to do that against the Mavericks. Like you can sort of get away with that, and they ended up winning that game. Well, you look at Portland, who's like you said, playing really well. They're having a better season.
They have shot makers.
They do,
Right.
and so you can't rely on that. Just being able to come back at the end and just expect to win. It didn't happen against
Right.
the
And
Blazers.
I feel like that's a thing, especially with the Blazers. Like, you never want to be in a close game with them because of Dame and CJ.
Yeah,
like,
right.
even if it was super close right there at the end, like,
You have
I
guys,
wouldn't have-
they have 2 guys that can pull it from 30 and
Right.
make difficult shots. Yeah, and
so that's why I would have liked to see some like urgency in that game from them. Like, if they would have come up and been like, hey guys, we can't let this be close.
they
didn't.
They had stretches, and then
Yeah.
they would just kind of fall off a little bit. Like there was a moment in that what was the end of the third quarter where the Thunder went on a big run. It was like,
Yeah.
ooh, it feels like maybe.
And they were kind of getting back into it, and
Yeah, they went on a couple big runs, and it was kind of back and forth. It was a game of runs, and man, it was just sloppy.
Yeah.
Both the games, both the Phoenix and the Portland games, felt sloppy from the jump. Meaning, it felt like that all starts with Russ too, and it felt like Russ was really pushing the ball, and not really getting the offense into any sets. Really, just kind of penetrating instantly, which sometimes is great for Russ. But in this case, he didn't really have much control over the game. You know what I'm saying? Like he had 30 points on 31 shots. That's not good.
yeah,
And then when you have Paul George with 21 points on 19 shots, 0 for 7 from 3.
yeah. That I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't even realize he had missed that many threes that game, and I guess I made up in my head that he had made one, and then when I looked at the box score today, I was like, he was 0 for 7.
He really isn't shooting the ball very well from deep since the All-Star break.
Yeah, and I wonder, what you really contribute that game to. We cannot do this without this being brought up. It has-
Smoothie delivery.
Yeah.
If you're just listening and not watching, we just got delivered some smoothies. Whose?
Oh, I don't.
We
Wait,
had
what
the
did
That's
same.
not mine.
We had the
Or
same.
maybe it is.
Oh, maybe we did.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
so that one's
yeah,
yours.
that one's yours right there.
Oh, you got a small one.
Oh.
Yours is smaller than ours.
Isn't that? No, that one's yours. Isn't
Oh.
it?
Wait, we got the same one, right?
No.
Oh, you guys got the same one.
Yeah.
I got the small one. That just turned around on me.
All right, that works
Sweet.
out. So,
Anyways.
I do wonder kind of what you attribute that loss to, because you did have, of the games that they had, 3 games in 4 nights. Like, I think you can kind of allow that loss to happen. Like, you're going on the road. It's a tough place to play. The Thunder have struggled there.
Definitely.
They have struggled there, and so it's kind of the losses that they've had this season. That one kind of feels like, okay, you're okay with that one as long as you get back on track and we can see this home stretch. You got to win these games.
Yeah,
now.
and we all picked 3-1 this week,
Yeah.
and I'm sure if we were picking a loss, we were all picking that game as the loss,
Absolutely.
Right.
I think what makes this one hurt worse is we knew the circumstances before. We knew that the Thunder had an opportunity to be in third place. After
Lakers
that game.
beat the Spurs.
Lakers beat the Spurs.
Which was, didn't
We were
expect
right
that
there.
to happen.
Thunder win that game. They're in third place in the West and things. And all of a sudden, the fan base, the mood, the overall mood of the fan base is a lot better.
Yeah.
Think about this team if you're in third.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel quite as disappointing. And now you're
And they're in
what?
7th.
Now you're tied in the loss column with the ninth place Clippers.
Yeah.
How? This is crazy. It's
wild,
a really
man.
crazy year.
So I don't know what you attribute the loss to. Maybe it's tired legs. If I had to point at one thing, obviously, if Russ is that inefficient, you're not going to win a lot of games, right?
Yeah.
And the lack of depth that the Thunder have right now, you have Carmelo Anthony resting. Obviously, he's not been very good for this team, but it still cuts into your depth.
Right. It does that, and it makes things different for them. Like they have to kind of adjust on the fly of like,
It's true.
okay, well, this is different. One big thing from that game, or two big things that involved Jeremy Grant, there was that non-call on the out of bounds play where they reviewed it and then still said it was Portland's ball, which it didn't hit him.
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't have much sound. I had a little bit of sound, so I couldn't really see if there was any further explanation that maybe I was missing
No.
something. Maybe it grazed him on the way down.
Sure didn't.
So what the hell?
They have 40 people reviewing it, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, didn't touch."
It's like they literally forgot if the ball hits out of bounds, it's out of bounds.
The only thing I didn't see was if there was something that came out afterwards where they were talking to the referees that said either we couldn't tell if it hit his foot or not, or if we legitimately just thought, it hit his foot.
That's the only
don't
thing
know.
I could think of is if they were like, "We can't tell for sure," but you could totally tell.
I just don't. I mean, the officiating. I hate complaining about the officiating, and I hate that
too.
we've had to do it so much this year because it feels like we have.
Yeah.
But in this game in particular, first off, you have the Nurkic intentionally running into Steven Adams, which it wasn't like a full on boom elbow into, but he clearly runs right into.
But like AD brought up, Rubio,
Jeff Teague thing?
the Jeff Teague
Yep.
ran into Rubio almost the exact same way.
A little
the night
harder
before.
than that, I will say,
And
but
he-
still.
But it's
But that
Rubio's
was
a little bitch, and he like fell harder. That's
Also,
the problem.
also that was a flagrant 2.
Right.
This was
A
determined to be a
common
common foul, and because Russ thought it was unnecessary, which it clearly was if you look back at the video. Russ stands up, defends his teammate, doesn't do anything, doesn't shove him, just kind of gets in the way, gives him some words
Right.
as the leader of the team. Then you assess him a technical foul, and somehow after Nurkic does that, the Thunder are the team that gets penalized.
Very, very weird.
I
Didn't
don't
make any
understand,
sense.
man. I don't understand. And then just some iffy no calls, and Blazers got away with an 8-second violation late in that game too that was very blatant. Shot clock's at 16 seconds, and that happened right on the heels of the Jeremy Grant thing too.
Right.
It was just so frustrating because the Thunder couldn't. It didn't feel like they were going to win the game, and then they also had that going against them.
Right. And then, so the other thing to me with Jeremy Grant is there was a possession late in the fourth where it was kind of like right where we were making that run, and it was like, okay, this could be the time where we kind of take control of things. And then he tries to like force a pass to Steven Adams like down low,
turnover.
and it was just that was a really bad decision.
That's a good point. I mean, the Blazers were forcing Grant to beat them at the end,
Right.
and that might be one of those things. Like, is that where the Thunder missed Carmelo Anthony?
Yeah,
Probably
and
so,
that's kind of what I was feeling like, because it was funny because before the game started, I was like, sweet, Melo's not there. Now we get to see what it would be like with like Pat in the starting lineup, and he did a great job.
Did a great job.
And I mean, there's some questions about like why wasn't he in at that point, but
Sure.
I mean,
There's-
Grant had a damn good game for the most part. It's
Yeah.
just like late.
What did he
kind
finish
of-
with? 13
you
points,
all-
6 for 9 from the field.
He's also been doing, like, if you're going to feel comfortable going with somebody you have before, like, it makes sense to have Grant in that position. Like, you go with him because you've gone with Grant before.
Like
true.
he's kind of been a closer.
He's done that already.
And who were the Blazers closing with? Was Aminu out there? I can't even remember. Or was
can't
Collins out there? Because if Collins is out there, Patterson makes sense more.
Right.
But if Aminu's out there, then
I
I want to say it was Collins, though.
can't remember.
Because Aminu played 19 minutes, Collins played 28. So that would make sense. But, those little role players for Portland are good. Like
Yeah.
I was just talking to Jason before this podcast and explaining. You look at the box score from last night. Al-Farouq Aminu plays 19 minutes. Not in foul trouble or anything. Plays 19 minutes. Starts for them. Josh Eustace starts for the Thunder, obviously. Plays 23 minutes. Which one of those players is the better player? Right? It's Al-Farouq Aminu.
Right,
Easily.
Right.
And he plays 4 less minutes for that team than Josh Eustace has to play for the Thunder. Keyword has to play for the Thunder. I think that speaks to the Thunder's lack of depth. And that really hurts, and it's coming to bite them when you have injuries, obviously, with Robertson, and when you have Carmelo Anthony resting. But Grant, he's been really good attacking the basket lately.
Yes.
So you have to give him credit. Now, the one thing that he needs to figure out is how to pass the ball.
Yeah.
Well, also, whenever he goes up, like, I feel like he always falls.
He's
Like, whenever he goes to the rim, he always falls.
Do you think he practices falling?
He's got it because he does it, so it just seems like he's like, so you go up and then you fall. That's what you do. Like,
Well, I
that's
mean,
how it seems.
I wouldn't surprise me if in the layup line before games he just went and just falls on the ground every time.
Baby deer.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're right, though. He goes in with reckless abandon, and oftentimes he finishes the play. That's what's crazy about it. He's really good around the basket, just kind of contorting his body and kind of just throwing it in. But he's got to learn to move the ball a little bit, and the Blazers were trying to force him to be leaving him open in the corner. He hit a big three.
Did, yeah.
Hit a big three in the
Nice.
game, but other than that, you don't. Anytime he's shooting a three, most of the time you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
no, don't shoot it.
But it's like the one he hit, he looked super confident about and didn't really think it.
It was like in
think about
transition, pull
Yeah, it
up,
was
kind of
weird.
moving forward. I did not think that was going in.
Yeah.
But so was it a successful week? I mean, Rob, I know you talked about you expected them to drop this game. Close games against bad teams.
Yeah, that's the part that makes it, like, to say if you only look at, they got 3 wins, they lost to what is a pretty good team this year, like, I think you would say that's successful. But the feeling that you get after watching them struggle to beat bad teams is still, I think you could say that's not a success looking forward because of how they're playing.
Do you think
the
this-
results are good, but not how they're playing?
Do you think this team has to have home court advantage in the playoffs to win a series?
Yeah.
You really think so?
It
Yeah.
would be very helpful.
Man, that's brutal because I don't think any of us really thought that even 3 weeks ago. And now, like, it's kind of slowly creeping in, like, as a realistic thing.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're going to.
It really
that they're going
sucked to
get
have
there.
to play in Portland.
Oh, for sure.
Ugh.
I mean,
Like,
that's the cold hard
It's
truth.
kind
I
of
think.
weird because I was like, they're one of the teams that I was like, yeah, we could play them and win. But like thinking about if they had home court against us, like that would make it.
I think that's what hurts, though. I mean, that's a good point. You hold Damian Lillard to 5 for 18 shooting, and you lose the game.
Yeah.
And this is a team that you've already lost to twice in the 2 times you've met this season. Now you're down 3-0 to this team. Portland, for some reason, just has the Thunder's number a little bit. Nurkic always seems to play Adams well. Adams, man, he's really been not involved very much lately.
Yeah. Is he like getting tired, do you think? Or it's just, I don't know
seems
what's
hard.
going on.
It seems hard to blame him for not getting the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a center.
But then again, I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week. His inability, like sometimes when he gets a offensive board, which he does a lot, and that's awesome, but he just immediately kicks it back out. And there was I think at least once and maybe twice last night where he just instantly threw the ball back out, and I was like, dude, dunk
Yeah.
it.
Just be a little selfish sometimes.
Yeah. But
I do think that there are certain times where they kind of just expect him to get his off of offensive rebounds rather than trying to have to run plays for him. But I think that if you can work the ball, especially whenever Russ is struggling, like whenever he's really struggling with efficiency, like you can throw it down to Adams, let him try and create something. And I think he's a good enough passer right now where he would be able to find somebody. Like you have to try that at times.
Agreed, especially at like the high post position where he's gotten pretty good at just keeping the ball high, turning, and finding the guy in the corner.
Right.
And so why not use that more? But it seems like this team is so kind of gung-ho, dead set on Russ making every play sometimes.
Yeah.
And that when you saw Paul George get hot, being aggressive, going at the basket,
there was a stretch there where he was just
you could totally
Going
see
for
he
it
was
was
feeling
awesome.
it. He was feeling himself. I
But
mean,
those are all for him though. Like the trick is really like whenever he goes in for the dunk, he gets the and one. Most of that stuff that he gets is for himself. Like the trick or what they really need is for him to be able to do that stuff, but also create shots, kick it out to somebody else to hit a three. Like he needs to be able to get other guys involved more
Definitely.
than just like Steven Adams, which has been nice, but like other guys out there as well.
I
Yeah,
wonder
I
if it's like kind of turned him away because I think it is fair to say that when he gets going like that, it's only going to open things up for other guys. And my point that I was getting to was when he did get it going, Russ came. I don't know if Russ was in the game for the entire time, but then kind of Russ took over.
And he
Started
didn't come
shooting.
back to
Didn't
him?
really give the ball back to Paul George for a few possessions, and it was like, dude, you got to feed the hot hand here. Just didn't think it was Russ's good game. But back to Paul George being aggressive, making plays for others. I wonder if it's something that's kind of deterred him since the beginning of the season, because towards the beginning of the season, you saw him really try to move the ball more than he has lately. Lately, he's more aggressive attacking the basket as a scorer. He's like, this is what I am. I'm going to score, right? And now he's not. He's almost like Russ status, where I don't really trust all these other guys on offense.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah, like if you keep passing it to them and then they just hit the side of the backboard, you're like, well, never mind.
And speaking of Russ's inefficiencies, this week he shot 45.2%, which think about the Suns game impact on that number. What was he, 16 for 25 in that game?
Yep.
So outside of that, it's going to drop a lot. 6.3 turnovers a game on 8 assists per game. And I think that directly ties in the ball. Like I said, I feel like he's been a little reckless lately. Just kind of crossing half court instantly, not getting the team into sets, really not running much half court offense, which we talked a lot about how we like when this team gets out and runs, plays with pace. But it just seems a little reckless here lately. The ball movement hasn't been there this week. It's very little ball movement. Here's a stat for you. On the season, they're averaging 254.7 passes per game. That's last in the NBA, barely worse than Houston, which we expect, right? Mm-hmm. But this week, they're averaging 20 less passes per game than their average, 234.8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's not been any people movement or ball movement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one's moving around.
People movement.
Other than
I
the
hope
bench.
Billy's
Like the
we're going
bench
to need
at
some
points.
people movement.
People, move.
The bench has looked okay at part of that. But back to Russ, like I know this is our weekend recap of sort of these 4 games, but if you include the two games before that, so right before these, so the last 6 games, you look at Russ's numbers and he shot below like 30% from the field. Actually, the highest he shot was 28.6 from the field in 3 of the 6 games that we saw. And so like that, I don't know, it's tough to sort of defend that because even whenever he does that, it seems like he continues just to continue. He shoots a lot more rather than just trying to get other guys involved. And like you said, I don't know how much you attribute that to Russ or to the fact that guys aren't moving. There isn't enough going around. Like
It's hard
I
to
don't
say.
know.
Well, I think it all comes back to Russ, though. As the point guard, as the best player on the team, it's kind of his job to get everyone going in not necessarily get them making shots, or moving, but it is his job to get them in the places that they need to be, run the sets that you need to run, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think he's doing a very good job lately of doing that. Since the All-Star break, he's not been as bad as he was to start the season, those first 6 weeks or whatever, but he's not been as good as he was after that, that's for sure.
No. But it's a terrible time for that to come up, right? Because
maybe he's getting it out of the way.
It could be. That's again the optimistic view there. I don't know. It's hard to watch them kind of struggle against these bad teams, and like you look at Russ's numbers, and it kind of correlates to what we're seeing. Like as this team goes, or as Russ goes, this team is going to go
exactly, especially his jump shot.
Yeah.
As his jump shot goes, this team's going to go. You saw in those Golden State games, his jumper's there. When he's making that jumper, it opens up everything.
Yeah.
I mean, back when KD was on the team, the games usually started out, going to Ibaka for a couple of possessions, a couple of jumpers, and Russ getting going that first quarter, and that's kind of how it worked. And then you close a little bit with KD. I mean, tables have turned a little bit. Russ is your closer, so you kind of don't want him to be your starter. Right. Also, you can't have him doing everything. But his consistency throughout games has been weird.
Yeah.
He's not able to put together an entire game lately. It's been like, well, he's awesome in this first quarter, and then the second quarter, it's like a new day.
Where'd he go?
Yeah, it's like a new day, I don't really know. But how would you grade the year that he's having overall?
I mean, it's hard to see what he does. Like, if you look at it from an overall perspective, like, well, he's incredible. But, like, the standards that he set for himself.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's all
kind of
based
what you
on
grade it off of, I guess. So
what we know he is.
Probably like a B plus compared to himself.
How's that smoothie, Rob?
It's good.
Is this your first smoothie of your life?
It's my first smoothie
That's
ever.
incredible.
No one listening is going to believe that.
It's real life.
If you know him, it's true.
But I'll go with Jason there. I'll say, like, I kind of agree. It's kind of a B plus ish. Like, I think you're kind of constantly wanting more, like more consistency.
Yep.
And I thought you had a great point earlier. Like, there's games where it feels like Russ isn't controlling them enough. Like, there's not enough of just outside of just him scoring so much, but just like controlling the game, taking over the game and making it like playing to his
and like running the team. To me,
Right.
like kind of what you were talking about is like getting people to move, like saying like, "Hey, go!"
Yeah.
Like
But is that Russ?
I think it's
Should
a little
we-
Russ.
some of it.
Obviously, it's got to be a little on Billy too, but Russ is always going to have an impact on a game, right? He does too much, whether it's negative or positive. He's always going to have a huge imprint on a game. But lately, I just feel like it's been completely surface impact and not inside, really from the inside out, if that makes sense. You know, he's not really controlling the game like, I'm the best player. This game goes as I go. Now it's been like, well, it's just, I don't know, it's very...
It's like panicked a little.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if it's just trying to figure out still like how maybe it's just taking longer to figure out like
Yeah.
how does he play with Paul George and even Carmelo Anthony, like trying to figure all of that out.
It looks, there's been a lot more in my turn, your turn between Paul George and Russ.
Yeah, there has
Like
been a
whenever
lot lately.
whenever KD was here, like he came in, they basically KD had the 1 year, but you come in and you guys are kind of, you know that you're kind of equals in a way, right? Well, now I think it's clear Russ is the best player.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And you have, like, how does he fit that in? Like, how does he not do too much? How does he make sure that these guys are enjoying playing? And I don't know. It's still that I think is still what they're trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's just crazy that they're still trying to.
That's what it
figure this
seems.
out.
Maybe it also, the other option is maybe it just doesn't work, right? I mean, that could be it as well.
Do you think that?
I refuse to believe it.
I feel like the Paul George Russ thing works. I feel like it's the team around him needs some tweaking.
Needs to be
Now
better.
Adams is great, obviously. I wouldn't want to do anything with Adams, but something is not working completely as we expected it to. But it sucks because on a normal week, when the Thunder go 3-1, I expect us to be good week, 3-1. Boom, that's a 75% winning percentage clip.
Yeah.
And instead, it feels
Well, I mean,
like fool's gold.
yeah. I mean, it's just the way that they won the games doesn't ever put a good feeling in. Like it's like, well, they won.
And now you have Houston coming to town.
Go whoop their ass.
Yikes. That's some confidence.
It seems like that's probably going to happen. Though.
Hey, bro.
Like
Yeah, I know.
Melo
lose
got-
and-
And then lose
Melo
on
got to
Thursday
take a
to the
nap.
Suns.
So one person we haven't talked about
For sure.
we didn't get into at all about Corey Brewer.
Yep. Get into it.
It's the headband.
Yeah, so finally, it happened so fast too. Like
Yeah, I did not
think
expect him to play last
I didn't
night.
expect him to play.
crazy.
Thought it would be Tuesday, but he does. He comes out, he plays. What was your sort of initial? It's very tough on him,
Yeah.
especially how quick it happened. But
And he talked after the game that he just kind of took in what he could defensively.
he had 4 fouls in like 6 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, and he said he messed up on a few calls, like on schemes and stuff, and he's got to learn that. And he was like, "But I'll learn, and I'll be better."
Yeah.
But man, he was
was
running
feisty.
he was running all over the court like some crazy person.
Tried his ass off.
On that one transition play where he had the ball, though, it was like, "No, what are you doing?"
Well, that's
Turn it over.
DZ from YouTube was asked, was Corey drunk last night?
It looked like he may
He
have been.
cannot dribble. I thought that was like kind of an over exaggeration on him being called the drunken dribbler or whatever.
I think so.
He tried though. Like
He
you
did.
could see, he wanted to get out in transition.
And you saw a couple moments where he had good contests defensively, and
He got a couple, like 2 steals, didn't he?
I don't know, but you have to look at the box score. But I don't know. I think he's going to be a good fit for this team. I don't know how much impact he's going to actually make, but
Yeah, 2 steals.
it makes sense to have a guy that hopefully you can trust defensively.
I will say I was a little worried. Like he was, especially like right after because he was I think he was the first guy off the bench, right? So he came
Was
in. I believe so.
Wow.
Yeah, he got in there pretty quick.
I'm pretty sure.
There you go. That just
But-
goes back to the depth.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So he got absolutely burned whenever he first got in there. It was very
Like 2
tough,
instant fouls.
very tough spot for him to be in. And then one of those steals, which he gets blown by Damian Lillard. I think it was Lillard. And then he sticks his arm in there. That's one of the steals right
Yep.
there. He gets it, and they start going the other way, which is it's nice to see, but it still is kind of worrisome that he looked so bad to start off. Then he gets beat. Something good happened out of it, but still, it's kind of I don't know. I hope it's not like sort of, and it's one game.
Yeah.
He played 11 minutes, just over 11 minutes.
Team worst, minus 14.
Yeah, but trying to figure it out. I think I don't want to be too harsh on him, but I didn't see anything in there where I was like,
sweet.
Yeah, like this is going to be great, because even the one he had, like Jason said, he had 2 steals, but one of them he had gotten burned by on a drive, and so it's just hard for me. Yeah, it's hard for me to sort of really get behind that, maintaining what we thought expectation wise of bringing somebody in so late.
I mean, he's kind of the guy we were all talking about. He's decent defensively.
He's going to work hard.
And he hits threes just like Robertson would, right off the side of the backboard.
Although he didn't have a good look at all on that, so I'll give him the...
it was bad.
Probably the weirdest part, though, was without Melo, you go in and you let Brewer play, but then you also don't use Terrence Ferguson at all. Like, he didn't see any minutes at all. That was sort of the weird part to me.
Yeah, you more saw an uptick with Patterson and Grant, which I think makes sense because those guys... Ferguson's obviously not like a 4. He's not going to defend 4s.
No, but I thought that we might see a little still, but I guess the question is then, are those minutes, Ferguson's minutes are going to Corey Brewer? That's what we should start to expect?
So. Yeah, and some, if not all of Abrinas' too.
Woo-hoo.
Wow.
Which, speaking of Abrinas, man, what the hell?
It's so bad.
Why is he so... How many opportunities does he have? So, it's funny. I think we had some sort of discussion in our mentions on Twitter like a week ago, and someone was like, well, what's Abrinas' wide open 3-point percentage this year?
None.
And I wanted to just be like, well, just look at his 3-point percentage because they're all wide open.
Yeah.
They're all wide open.
I looked earlier in the year, and whenever somebody does contest, it was like, I think, I don't remember the exact numbers now, but it was within 5 feet. Like, his numbers were terrible. And there weren't a bunch of, or there weren't a bunch of them, but he was not making, when anybody was closing out on him, like, they were not good at all.
He had a chance to hit a huge 3 last night against Portland, wide open.
But again, he gets one shot in 14 minutes. I don't know if that's his fault for not. I mean, there was actually a point where he got the ball, was open, and should have totally taken the shot. Passes it over to Grant, who's going to miss it, and did.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you take that.
Right.
Like,
you have an understanding. You have to have an understanding.
If you're on the floor and you get the ball and you're somewhat open, take the 3. Like, that's the only thing you give to this team.
You said one shot against Portland, but he did average 4.5 over this 4-game stretch.
And didn't.
No,
and not to get too off topic, Russ and Houston were the only net negatives this week, and plus minus.
Weird.
So on that sense, successful week.
Good
Russ
job.
is a minus, and you win 3 of those 4 games.
Yeah.
You gotta expect. I mean, Russ was awesome against the Suns offensively, but we gotta expect Russ to be better, and I think he will be better. And I think that 3 ball will start falling for Paul George. But we talked about Patterson earlier, starting for Melo. Did a good job, man.
Very good game.
Comes into the lineup, doesn't hesitate to shoot the ball, makes a couple shots. What were his numbers in that game?
5 for 8.
5 for 8, 12 points, 2 for 3 from 3, 6 rebounds, just a block, but 6 rebounds, 33 minutes for him, man.
Yeah, I liked it.
I liked it too. What does that say? What does that tell us?
I feel
Or
like
does it
he
tell us
does a
anything?
better job at the 4 with Adams there. Like,
Yeah.
I really do.
Oh, so do I. I think it's clear. I mean,
He
you look
seems
at
so much more comfortable than he has this whole year.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks since I looked it up, but when I did look it up a couple weeks ago, the best 2-man lineup that the Thunder had was Patterson and Adams.
Oh, wow.
The number 1 best 2-man lineup as far as net plus minus.
Hey, P!
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is his role going to be bigger in the playoffs? Are you going to be able to give some of Melo's minutes to him? Are you going to be able to give Grant's minutes to him? I don't think you can take away Grant's. How are they going to use Patterson going forward? He's the backup center for this team.
Probably situationally is what I would expect it to continue to be. Like, I think that he, like, as we watched these games so far this season, like, I thought there was value there. Like, they needed to give him a little bit more time, even though it didn't always show in the numbers. Like, he wasn't shooting all that well. He struggled, like, coming back from injury. Like, I think there was some question about that really early on. And so, I don't know, maybe now I think you can probably chalk a lot of what happened up just to Melo's injury, and we won't see this at all as long, or not injury, but rest. And
He's
we
old,
won't,
man.
We won't see this anymore probably until Melo sits out again. That's what I sort of fear, because I do think that Patterson, that there is a role there for Patterson that he can fill.
Does Patterson fill that role as the starter better than Carmelo Anthony does?
Yeah, I would say from what we've seen, I think so. And I think there's so much value there to bring Carmelo off the bench and let him.
So you're in
let
that
him
camp
go.
now. Right?
Yeah, I don't think that that's what's going to happen.
And it's not going to happen.
No, but I do.
It's not going to happen.
I
That's
do,
what sucks.
I
but-
do think that is it. It seems I would at least want to see it. As much tinkering as Billy does, and as much as we talk about that, like I just want to see it. Just let's let that play out for 7 games that we have. And maybe it's way too late to be trying that.
Isn't having a guy like Carmelo Anthony, who apparently refuses to come off the bench, laughs at the idea of it,
Yeah.
that's got to be somewhat cancerous in the locker room. Not the fact that everyone's like, you need to go to the bench or anything like that, but just having that attitude in there, right? That's going to bleed out in some way. You're going to give off that vibe. That's not necessarily a championship mindset.
Wait, that article that you brought up last pod where he turns back to Billy and says, "Don't take everything away from me." It's like, but dude, that's the be okay with anything. That
And
happens.
plus, if he would just understand, if you do come off the bench, your freedom
Oh.
grows, man. Like,
green light.
yeah, a lot greener.
Like they're not going. He's not going anywhere either. Like he has the option. Like
you can be the
just-
highest paid bench player in
how
NBA
about-
history.
But how about for Billy and Sam? Just do it.
Yeah.
Like why not just do it?
Sit down with him, take him out to a nice meal, buy him a really nice bottle of wine, drug him up a little bit.
Oh,
Just try to influence him,
date
Say,
raping him?
hey, see this? You take it. Don't date rape him. You take him to the arena. You show him some of the seats over on the bench. You
Oh
say,
God.
this one's for you. Big,
We even
big
got
dog.
you a better-
Come, big dog.
Got you a better cushion
Yeah,
on this particular seat.
Super. They make it like
It's like suede.
or like an animal fur, like an exotic animal's fur.
It's a throne. Just have him a throne chair over there.
It'll warm your little tush till you need to go out there and score for us.
Heated seat. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Oh,
There we go.
we're getting onto something
Oh,
here.
Maybe air conditioning.
I don't know. I'm kind of with you, Rob. I think I wouldn't mind seeing him come off the bench. Why not try it? Tried everything else. Why not try this one?
Yeah. But I would say it seems way too late
Yep.
to do something like that.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Or is it just the right time?
Or
I
is
think
it like, well,
Have we seen enough of it? to
If
be
we were
like,
going to see that, I think that would have been a
Yeah,
month at least.
no, I'm
ago.
with you. We're not going to see it. But it sucks because even at the beginning of the season, I wasn't completely for it, but I understood kind of the value and the purpose and the idea behind it. But you had other NBA people coming out, not in the NBA currently, but like Chauncey Billups and Tracy McGrady, analysts talking about, I think he should try coming off the bench for this team. Other guys that he probably respects, and he's just still, nah, I'm good. I don't like coming
Right.
off the
And I think it all comes back to that's not happening until he decides. That's what I said. I remember talking about that like long time ago. And,
Yep.
and until he's like, "Hey Billy, I'm doing it. I don't
That
think
sucks.
it's gonna happen."
That
Which
sucks,
does
right?
suck. Yeah.
It sucks to have that on your team that you have to worry about. I mean, you look at Dwayne Wade, a guy who's drafted in the same draft class as Carmelo Anthony, a better player historically than Carmelo
Still
Anthony
better.
was. Yes, still better probably. Oh my God, he comes off the bench gladly because he's a team
knows.
player. He's a team player. He wants
When
to.
he's self-aware, I think he said, "Well, I'm old, man.
That's true.
All right."
Carmelo Anthony lives in a fantasy world, doesn't he? He thinks that he's still really good.
Yeah,
He
Yeah,
does.
definitely.
of course he does. Has to.
But the Thunder, all this being said, the Thunder still have an outside shot. Not even an outside shot. They still have a shot at that third seed.
And they still have a shot at the 9th seed. Shit.
and that, and the schedule's tough, but the schedule's tough for the other teams too, especially the Spurs. These other teams have really tough schedules too. The West is going to be crazy to finish out. So before we move on to legitimate or preposterous, I want to get you guys percentage chance that the Thunder get the third seed. Put a percentage on it.
Go 63%.
Damn, that's high,
It
dude.
is. But it's
Wow.
like it's all right there. Like everybody's a game away from each other.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's high.
I think I'm believing in them.
I'll go like 10%.
Oh,
Ooh,
God.
that's low.
Way low. I don't expect that to happen.
I think I'd go somewhere around 35.
And in the middle there somewhere.
Yep.
I'm feeling quite ridiculous now, but I'm gonna go with
63.
it.
That's
I'm staying.
serious optimistic. So what seed would have your highest percentage?
I would say probably 5th.
Mm-hmm. Just out of basically because it's kind of in the middle there.
Well, I expect them to move. I don't expect them to go down at all from 7 that they're at now. I just don't expect them to go that high. So I think they will move up a little bit, but it's just
so hard to know just because of if one team suddenly goes, well, we just lost 3 games, then everything changes for everyone.
Right.
And it's absurd.
Well, let's look at the schedule real quick. So you have Rockets at home.
Are you able to show it on there?
Win.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Pull it up.
It's not very good.
Zoom
But,
in on that son of a
you
bitch.
you have the Rockets.
It's there, though.
The Rockets at home. So if we go through and we say the Thunder win every home game they have left, that's usually a good way to. So you would win 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting again on the pod. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 home games left. So that's 10 wins. So to get to 50 wins, which might get you the 3 seed, you need 3 road wins on top of that. You need 13 wins to get to that. I mean, a road win at Atlanta, you expect. Road win
They'll
at Toronto.
probably lose that game.
Probably not Toronto. Probably not at Boston. At San Antonio. At New Orleans. Oh God.
Yeah, you're really screwing my
At
percentage
Miami,
up here.
maybe.
So they have the Suns, and then they have Miami.
Yeah, so we can rattle these off real quick. They at home versus the Rockets, at home versus the Suns, at home versus the Spurs, at home versus the Kings, on the road versus Atlanta, at home versus the Clippers, at Toronto, at Boston, at home versus Miami, at home versus Portland, at San Antonio, Nuggets at home, at Pelicans, Warriors at home, at Rockets, at Heat,
That's
Grizzlies at home.
yeah.
It's brutal, man.
I don't feel better about what I said.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean,
good.
what percentage chance would you put on them missing the playoffs?
Pretty low, I would say.
How low?
Probably.
Because I was
You gonna
feeling
say
like
10
15.
again?
No, I was gonna
I
go
was thinking-
lower than 10.
I was thinking like 50, there's still like a 15, 20% chance this could happen.
I'd probably go 10.
Real.
What happens? What happens with the Thunder if that does happen? Like, what's
PG
the big,
gone.
Is Billy?
Yeah, he's definitely gone.
Is Billy gone at that point?
I think so.
You missed the playoffs. Billy's
I
gone.
think at that point, there's something's got to change. Russ might be demanding a trade. You don't know what's happening at that point.
You know,
That's scary.
obviously this is all subject to the playoffs and what happens in the playoffs. But as of now, I think if the Thunder lose in the first round, Billy might be gone.
Wow,
I really do.
that would be crazy.
It just feels like something's off here a little bit. But, you know, and maybe it's not. We actually have a question, legitimate or preposterous, coming up that we can really break this down. So let's just go ahead and get to that. Why
Let's
don't we?
do it. Please hold.
Legitimate or preposterous?
All right. You guys know it's been a while since we've done this, huh?
That-
You got a
that
little
felt good.
smoothie on your lip. There you go. You just licked that
Saving
up.
that for later.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed that sound.
Here we go. Legitimate or preposterous. Number 1. Given the Thunder struggles all season and the Lakers' recent hot streak, you feel the least confident in Paul George staying than you have all season.
I'm going to say preposterous. I felt really scared of him leaving early in the season. And since he's kind of had this relationship built with Russ and Melo, some of the things he said, I know we're not taking them really that seriously because he's just talking to media. But I don't know. I feel like he wants to see what happens with this a year or two in. So,
Oh, I'm gonna go very legitimate. Like I feel, yeah, the word. And as we keep going down this road, it keeps getting worse.
it does keep.
If he leaves, is it going to be fair to go back and be a little mad at Presti for not trading him? Or is
No.
you still would do that 100 out of 100
Yeah, no,
times?
I think
Yeah,
you gotta
I'd keep him.
Yeah, you gotta hope it works out.
Yeah, I agree. But it's gonna look like if that happens, if the Thunder get bounced in the first round, you're stuck with Carmelo Anthony. You lose Paul George. Man, Presti's gonna have a lot on him, a lot going against him of what happened the past 2-3 years.
He had like the greatest things ever happen, and then they just all shit the bed.
So what percentage are you at now that he leaves? God, we're getting so close
That
now
he leaves, I still think it's like way too hard to
It's
know,
very-
but
It changes every week for me.
every
week.
It really
Every
does.
game, you're just like, well, he's 100% gone.
Yeah.
Shit.
I don't know. That's tough. I'm over I mean, I'm right around 50% somewhere in there, and I don't
Really?
know how I feel.
That's pretty
either
good in
way.
the Thunder's favor.
Yeah.
I think I'm more at like 65-35 in favor that he leaves.
Really?
I kind of
I'm
feel
probably
that
like
way.
the
It-
opposite of you, but that is he stays.
Wow. It just feels
I'm
like
up there in those 60s for everything positive.
for whatever reason, I get this sense of dysfunction going on within not necessarily the whole organization, but just on the court, and I think that's going to affect him.
Like recently, you get that feeling, or just
yeah, recently.
It's just so weird because they've won. Like especially really recently,
Yeah.
you're actually winning, and so I don't know. That is. Ugh, I hope not. Because
Yeah,
if you're
I hope
winning,
not, too.
if you're winning and you feel that way,
That's not good.
when they start losing, it's gonna be even worse.
But that's the thing.
When
They've
start losing.
they've spent a lot of time this year trying to really work through things, work through the mud, trying to work together, move the ball, figure out how each other plays. And I feel like lately they've kind of just been like, well, let's just all do our own individual talents. And you can win a lot of games like that
Yeah.
because they're that good.
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
get, it's a long season. It's natural to not just have the mindset of like, okay, let's go try to work through this stuff every single night. But
his whole point was like, I want to win. Obviously,
That's a big part of it.
like if you're not going to do that here, why would he stay? Like if you're struggling this much, and
Yeah.
who knows, what that is.
37-28, one game better than last season.
Hey. Progress, right?
Next, legitimate or preposterous, the Thunder will be the 3 seed in the playoffs. You got to make that prediction now.
Legitimate.
You thought you were getting away with it. You have to make it now.
It's legitimate. It's happening.
That's so preposterous. If you had to make me choose right now, I'd say no way.
Yeah.
I don't know that I think it's Portland, but I don't think it's the Thunder either.
That's my
Who,
thing, though.
who
is
gets it then?
Minnesota
Who's the
lost Jimmy.
favorite?
Minnesota lost Jimmy B. Spurs don't have Kawhi. Hopefully he stays that way.
It's that damn schedule that
It's-
I just showed.
Yeah, that's the worrisome part to me. But if
Yeah,
those
but
teams,
Kawhi's come. I mean,
he's supposed to come back at some point, but you don't know.
Even when he came back
No one
earlier,
knows.
though, he wasn't.
He wasn't
He wasn't
Kawhi.
himself. Yeah.
but
And
maybe
now he's been out
But then he
longer.
also sat out, so maybe he wasn't completely.
true.
It's hard to know if he was completely
Yeah.
healthy. And
True.
I don't know.
But I mean, those things help. I feel like Portland could totally go on like a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah.
like like that happens to them all the time, where they're like, "Oh, you look amazing."
Yeah.
Wait, you
Wait,
forgot how to play defense at all. So I think there's a lot of stuff like that works in our favor. But the schedule is not great, and the team's not playing really well yet. But maybe they'll get back into a rhythm like December and just go on a little streak. I'm putting a lot of my eggs in the maybe they'll get better at basket
Yeah.
still.
He's just waffling. The
I'll do
classic Jason waffle.
I'd do it.
All right, next, legitimate or preposterous. If Carmelo would have played in the Portland game, the Thunder would have had a 4-0 week. What's funny?
I don't know.
Hey,
I'm just
P.
thinking about Melo. Like
Hey, Pete.
they lost because Melo sat after we go listen to the last podcast.
Right.
We just completely were off that train. But
Well, I
will-
just-
That's why it's funny.
Well, this goes back to what I was bringing up earlier in the pod, that Portland was trying to make Grant beat him, and they could have used Melo. But at the same time, Melo probably wouldn't have played as well as Patterson played in the start. So
yeah. So I'll go preposterous.
I'm probably go preposterous as well.
I think that's legitimately the right answer.
Hey.
All right,
look what he
next.
did.
Legitimate or preposterous, Carmelo Anthony should absolutely come off the bench.
Legitimate.
So legitimate.
Sorry, Pete.
We talked a lot about this, but
Just give it a try. Let's just see.
just one game, and then move from there.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Legitimate or preposterous, the Thunder's underwhelming season is more on Sam Presti than it is on Billy Donovan.
Ooh, shit got real.
I think equal blame.
can't
That's
do
not
it.
this
Can't
game.
do it.
That is not how this
Can't
game
do
works.
it.
I thought we were doing over under. Are we not?
No.
So you said this season, right? This is more on.
Yes.
I'm gonna say legitimate.
Legitimate, it's more on Sam?
Yeah, but
I'm gonna say it's legitimate too.
I don't think it's like it's your fault for bringing these awesome guys here.
You have to think that's what this game is.
But my thing is, he didn't have a chance to really put those pieces around the guys that he did end up getting. It's kind of what you were saying. The guys outside of the four are terrible.
Yeah.
So that's rough.
So do you think that's kind of what Sam's banking on right now, is that he can get Paul George to stay so he can have more of an opportunity to actually
That's
build
what I think
the
the
team?
whole idea is.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Because they weren't going to...
It's a huge risk, though.
I don't think anybody...
It's like investing all of your money in something that doesn't have very good odds to have a good return. But
Well,
you,
what
the
was your other
reason
option?
the reason you invested was because you want to invest the return in something else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, and mostly to get Russell Westbrook to stay is why you invested in it.
So it's a high
And that
risk,
worked.
high reward.
That part worked.
It did work. You're right.
I will say I'm enjoying this
Barely.
as it gets. No, well, as it gets easier to suck through this straw.
Oh, is it
like
thick?
I feel it was really like a
Well, I got a couple-
golf ball through a garden hose. I swear it was like so hard to get through.
I had
there.
a couple banana pieces stuck up in
Maybe
there.
that's what it
Yeah,
was.
you gotta really get
What do
them.
you gotta do?
Can you look there? And
No, I can't do that again. I don't
What
think.
was your answer on this question? The Thunder's
You said
underwhelming
legitimate.
season is more.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, legitimate.
Okay. So
For those reasons, I think Jason's right. Like you put it, definitely Billy Donovan deserves blame, but then you could also say that's Sam Presti because maybe he didn't get the right guy. Maybe that's not even fair. But I'm still saying there's still some of that where I feel like I still don't even know if Billy Donovan is the right guy because I want him to be able to say to control those lineups and who's on the court, who starts more than what it feels like he can, especially like we talked about with
On
Oh.
Mo.
that point, Blake Llewellyn from Twitter gave us a legitimate or preposterous.
All right.
From YouTube.
nice.
Will Billy D have a job next year? Legitimate or preposterous?
Damn, Blake,
That's
sitting
good.
on fire.
I like it.
Yeah, he's definitely
We're just silent.
Yeah,
for a second.
He's
He
definitely,
stumped us.
He's
I
definitely
plead the
going
fifth.
to have a job. I just don't know.
Will it be here?
I don't know if it'll be here. I'll say it will be.
I'll
so
say
I'll
legitimate.
Say
He will have a
I'll
job
say
here.
legitimate too. Like if I'm going with the odds, I'll go legitimate. But
Because we
But
bet.
you're
Because-
also saying
Because we're about to get to
if
the
they
Western
get bounced in
Conference
the first
Finals.
round, I don't think he gets back. But I still will not pick against the Thunder in the first round unless they're like the 7th seed, obviously.
You got that hope.
if the Thunder miss the playoffs, I think Billy's gone. Otherwise,
Yes.
I think he stays.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
Do you think that's just like a stability thing? Like they're like, well, let's give him a chance. Like let's see what we can do in the offseason. Give him some guys.
I wonder what kind of effect
gonna-
Paul George staying or leaving has on that as
Yeah,
well.
that would
Well,
be
a
very
huge
interesting.
one, right? I think
Yeah.
if you're Sam, you probably go, well, how do you feel about Billy? You know, you tell him, you ask him all those things.
You want him going? He's going.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
He's
terrible,
out.
What a terrible feeling though. Like
I'll
if he
fire
is
him right.
like-
You want me to bring him in the room and you fire him?
That's
cool.
It doesn't
Do
matter.
it.
As long as you're staying, just sign you.
It is scary though to think like, ugh, what if that was the problem the whole time and it was just like Billy was just not the right guy, couldn't get enough out of
Yeah.
whatever, and
Could be. It absolutely could be. It's not that far fetched to think about. Last one, and this one's a little more on the positive side of things,
Yay.
depending on your answer.
Oh.
Legitimate or preposterous? Only one team in the West has a better 1-2 punch than the Thunder have in Westbrook and George.
no, I would say preposterous.
So you go Harden and Paul over them
Yeah, I think so.
Man,
It's
it looks
hard
that way
not
right
to.
now.
Yeah, at
with
this
the
point.
results. But I think that's it kind of goes back to what we've been talking about. What is around those guys
It's so
is
much better.
perfect.
Oh, yeah.
it's
It
so ideal.
fits them so well.
Yeah, we talked about this, Daryl. Like, so whenever we were so like when you think about like Harden and Durant having such success after they left, but you look at Durant who joined the team who won
He was already in
more
place.
regular season games than any other team. You look at like Daryl Morey looks like he may be the best GM with just not necessarily getting all of these big names, but he's putting guys around perfectly set up for Harden, and now Chris Paul even more so. Like it just completely works.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it does. I mean, you look at that team and they have everything you need. When you talk about Eric Gordon coming off the bench and
Right.
one of the best, if not the best player in the NBA coming off the bench, and then you have guys like PJ Tucker and Mba Mute who are great defenders, just know their role, kind of Thunder guys type guys, right? But they can score.
You look at the
What's their-
emergence of
what's
like
their
Clint
record?
Capella.
Clint Capella,
Like
yeah.
you look at somebody that has just totally gotten like better as he's been there.
It's smart to let Dwight Howard just go like
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was the record with just Paul and Harden?
I think they've only lost
Last
3 games.
two or three games?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They're like 30-3 or something on a
that's
15-game
depressing.
winning streak coming to Oklahoma City.
Look at that.
They in trouble.
That is.
They in trouble.
All right.
Twitter questions?
All right. Travis Maynard at Team Main 14. I fell asleep late first quarter. Woke up 3 minutes left in the fourth. What happens? Not good.
Yeah, I mean, the Thunder happened.
Good job sleeping though, because
No, it was just
Didn't
it was
miss
a
much.
weird. This was one of those weird games where it does feel like the Thunder oftentimes get other teams' best, even bad teams. They get their best a lot of times. The players want to beat them. Last night was not Portland's best, and that's what irks me.
Watching that game though, I never really felt like the Thunder were going to win.
Yeah,
Like it always kind of felt like
Yeah.
they just didn't have it that night.
It always for me depends on how much control Russ has over the game, and he just never had a firm grip on that.
have
game.
any. All right, Caleb Smith at Caleb SM 9095971. I blacked
Hey,
out.
he's got a 50975 in his name.
That was good. Does anyone else find themselves looking up Andre Robertson highlights?
No, but I'm going to right after this.
I keep seeing him on, like the Go-To commercial little roller that they do. He'll keep showing up in the little things, and it makes me just almost cry.
It's crazy. Is it not insane how important he is to this
Oh
team?
God, he's so,
Who would have guessed too?
Yeah.
so good.
Like
No
we knew
way.
he was important,
but
but to this
Yeah, it's
extreme,
crazy.
oh man.
Thundera at my name is Devin. Did the Thunder really win against the Suns, or did they throw it at the end to continue their tank?
Nah,
They're
they
not
want to
tanking,
win.
bro.
They will win.
Get
I mean,
these
the
guys.
organization's tanking.
players
but the
wanna-
players
yeah.
want to win.
And we got a similar ones from Ben Burke at Ben Burke or Ben_Burke 10 and Mike Bayless at Gritty Gary.
Skips, bro.
Maybe. What is the hiring process for NBA referees, and why don't they filter out the awful ones? And Mike Bayless's was, how do these refs not mysteriously disappear after these games?
I like that
Very
second
good
one because
questions.
you could.
I like both of them.
I'm
Especially
surprised
with-
Billy's not just bagging him. In the
Yeah,
back.
you gotta hit him on the knees, or he's got to take advantage
Oh
of.
yeah, put him in a
the
trunk.
mob.
Yeah.
There's been many times this season where Billy Donovan has just looked so mad
Yeah.
on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And if you remember, like his first season, where I was like, why doesn't he ever get mad?
Yeah.
And he's so angry this
He was
season.
saving it for this year.
Yeah, he never smiles anymore.
All right. Jonathan Lang at JS Lang
Wanna see him
95. Spot the differences. Corey Brewer versus Terrence Ferguson. Is Donovan just enthralled with super skinny, high volume fouling, large foreheaded guys?
Well, Corey Brewer's 31 and Ferguson's 19.
Also, his forehead just goes around his whole head.
That's
He's
true.
just a giant.
That's true.
Well, that's because he doesn't have. He's got to throw the headband on it.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
I noticed that he just has the regular NBA headband and not the cool Nike one that Melo gets. So
Yeah, well, Mel's is like a half beanie.
it's really cool. I like
You
it.
know, it's so thick. It's like
It makes
so
the top of his head look smaller.
Probably squeezes his head. Have you ever seen when Melo's headband pops off and he has like an indentation?
Oh yeah,
It's like, dude,
it's like he
that's
wears
too tight.
it 24/7. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like because he always wears hats post game.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
true.
probably just headband underneath it.
You're right. He does always wear hats.
That's
weird.
interesting to think. Maybe there is.
Just
a headband.
always headband.
Hey, can you remove that hat? Let's see.
Let's see.
You're just making some love.
Do you think he's like
Headbands.
receding hardcore, like, and just refuses to show it?
Could be.
Is that cutting off? Oh, the reason he's receding is because he's cutting off his circulation with,
With
that damn
that-
headband.
Yeah.
Ernest at Artsintu. Here's a good one. Why does Abrinas still play?
I like that he started out with. Here's a good one. Like he set it up.
Yeah. It's a great question though. No one knows.
Is it going to continue?
I guess.
You know what?
What's
At this point, I think you have to play him.
yeah.
I don't think so. I'm going the other way.
Really?
Yeah.
It'd be real cool if he
I
did.
just think this team needs some shooting, and you got to hope that his shots start to fall.
0 for 1. Bring it.
But wouldn't you
very
rather,
helpful.
I would rather have Terrence Ferguson out there
Yep.
doing that than I would want Abrinas.
Because you're at least
Maybe.
getting him experience, if nothing
Maybe,
else.
why
but
not?
I do think that Abrinas, you know, one thing I've noticed recently is
He'll have a nice game.
sometimes Abrinas can put the ball on the floor and good things can happen sometimes. Not necessarily that he's making a play or anything like
Not
for
super
another,
often.
but it gets the offense moving, and I wouldn't mind seeing him have 2 to 3 more opportunities to do that a game. Just like come set a screen for him and let him go around the screen and get the defense moving a little bit.
All right. Let's see. Evan McDeasy at Evan ETM. Over under 12.5 wins left on the schedule.
So that basically puts you at 15 if you get 13 wins. 50 wins if you get 13 wins.
Going over.
I'm going over too. I told you guys. We're getting this 50 wins.
You under? For sure? I feel like you are.
Yeah, I'm gonna be slightly under.
13 and 4
Feels
sounds
better that you said slightly. That makes me a little happier.
13 and 4 sounds ridiculous though. Like right? 17 games left? That's right?
Yeah.
Sounds ridiculous.
11. I'm afraid we're
It does
looking at
sound kinda
like
crazy.
11 and 6 kind of.
Sounds more
That
realistic.
does sound a lot more probable. Anyways, I'm going to stay positive though.
Same.
HIV buzz no.
Been
David
all over the map in this one.
David Quake Quacky I don't know. At in
Quacky.
underscore K
gotta be
underscore
Quacky.
2. Who do you think we're going to draft? What?
Thunder don't have a first-round pick.
Yeah.
They do have 2 second-round picks, though, if Boston finishes with top 5 record, which it looks like they will. So who knows?
2 second-round guys
Yeah.
from college basketball
that-
are who we're going to draft.
Probably none of us have heard of.
Agreed. At Ative, at Diamond Ative 281, would you consider rolling with this lineup? Russ, PG, Brewer, Grant, and Adams.
Sure. I mean, you're going to see it. That's not a lineup that you won't see, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think you'll see it.
Sounds decent.
See ya.
I don't. DJ Logie, some weird at Fitzlogan. Why does PG not get any foul calls?
Good question.
That's a great
But
question.
I'm kind of happy he didn't on that one because he retweeted us. And if it weren't, he'd have got that foul call. You'd have never filmed that, and
That's
he would have
true.
never retweeted us.
That's true.
But I mean, he always, anytime he is close to somebody, he just does this.
Yeah, so I wonder-
probably that has something to
I
do
wonder
with
if
it.
there is something behind it, and we talked a little bit about this, where like I wonder if it is how he attacks the rim or just how it looks. If he's always kind of flailing, and
He
so that's
oftentimes
why he
has the
doesn't get
ball
it.
right in front of him, you know?
Yeah.
He kind of goes right into the guy.
And he'll like fall into their bodies and
Mm-hmm.
stuff sometimes because he's got that weird quicksand.
He's been good going
running.
at the rim. It would be nice if he got some more calls because he has been so aggressive lately. But he does a lot of complaining.
He does a whole
A
bunch
lot
of
of
it,
throwing his arms up. The whole team has been doing some of that.
which I think that has something to do with it. All right. I can't remember where I was. Chris Farrell at Chris_Farrell3. With all the talent we have on this team, why are we still so bad at this point in the season? That is the question of questions.
I guess, but you could ask a question to that question. Is there all that talent on this team, or is it just so top heavy?
Yep.
That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
Because the guys around him aren't so good. Agreed.
Right.
Always and forever art. At Always and forever art. I want to know why Patrick Patterson did not end this game as great as he played. Billy D! And why is Sabrina's even on the floor? Just isn't getting it done this year. I mean, we kind of answered that
We
part
did
already.
talk about that a little bit, yeah.
But-
And I mean, it's one of those things. If Patrick Patterson is on the floor, did the Thunder win that game? Probably not.
No.
It does help because you have that corner shooting, and that's where they were leaving Jeremy Grant open the entire time. So maybe you do hit 1 or 2 more shots, and maybe that does help you get over the hump. I don't know, but it's always easy to say, well, why wasn't he on the floor when you lose?
And then if he had been, you'd be like, why the fuck was Pat out there?
Right.
But all right, Goebbels, Cyrac. This is your guys' names are getting ridiculous out there. At Smooth P27, is PG an overrated defender? Also a ridiculous ass question.
I say no.
Nope.
I don't get that. No.
That's all we're giving to that. Okay, nope. Todd Lytle at ToddBoy23. Much easier to say name than the last one. Do we make the playoffs? Gonna need odds to back it up from each of you guys.
Yes, and 90%.
Yeah, what did I say? 15% that we don't earlier?
Something like that.
So do the
So
math.
you're at 63%. We get to the third seed.
Very weird.
And
It's just a
15%.
drop off. If we don't get the third, we're out. That's basically what's going on.
It's all or nothing with this
Yep.
team, which is, with this team, that sounds about right. All or
See?
nothing.
It's not that crazy. What are you at?
90.
90, yeah.
Yeah.
So 85, 90,
right.
91. I'll
And
one up Brandon. I'll go 91.
Oh,
if this
Bryce
team-
is right at you.
If this team were to miss the playoffs,
We all cry together.
what is your reaction? What
No.
are you wanting? Like, what do you want to see in this offseason? What needs to happen?
Just my head under a blanket for several months.
Well, I hope
Just hope it fixes itself.
Ostrich it.
I hope Melo realizes he's not as good as he thinks he is.
Opts out and retires.
Decides he has a
Fat chance.
He has a ton of
No
money.
pun intended.
And he decides he just wants to go somewhere else to try and win.
Uh-huh.
And that's probably not gonna happen. So, but that would be ideal if Melo wasn't on going forward.
Let's get him out.
But realistically,
really it.
is it just it's Russ and Adams at that point, right? And obviously Melo's going to be there, but you're
Yeah,
going
PG
to
going.
maintaining Russ and Adams, and you're going to try and get whatever else
Mm-hmm.
after that.
Or
I
just
guess, yeah.
Blow it up and trade Russ. I don't know.
And trade Russ.
Next question. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I don't actually believe that would happen. DZ from YouTube said, "What would you do if we drafted LiAngelo Ball?" I can't speak.
That ain't happening.
Please
So,
don't.
I don't mean, like,
Please
no.
don't. All right, Antonio Barros at Antonio Barrows Jr.
Your reading
Disaster.
is so poor.
I can't talk today. Even.
That's reading.
Poor.
Yeah.
I don't know the difference between reading and talking. Poor ball movement on offense or lack of mobility in defense. What's killing us most?
That's a good question.
Do you like that?
I mean, obviously, it's been a little bit of both, but I think defense has been the bigger issue recently. But sometimes I think that ball movement leaks over onto the defensive end.
Yeah, when no one's touching the ball, like, they're not involved.
Yeah, you're not scoring. I think obviously that puts you can't set your defense, puts you in a much worse position.
And just complaining about calls on offense all the time kind of puts you in a bummer of a mood.
Yeah, and those one pass shot possessions, even when you do score, I mean, sometimes it happens so abruptly that the other guys that aren't involved on the play, it's hard to just get super engaged back on the defensive end.
Agreed.
Let's finish this out with some notes, huh? Notes! All right, something we have not been able to mention, but I'm so excited to. J.R. Smith was suspended for throwing a bowl of soup at Cavs assistant coach Damon Jones. What an amazing headline.
I saw a tweet that was like, "You can't throw a bowl of soup at assistant coach. The NBA is soft."
That's amazing. How do you throw a bowl of soup at somebody?
So has it been said, like, if the bowl was like
I didn't look into it. Yeah.
like an actual glass
Yeah,
bowl?
like a bowl?
God, that'd be just
Like a
plank it on
porcelain
his
bowl?
head. That'd have to get him more than one game, though.
or was
right?
it like a, like a
That'd just be like a styrofoam container of
from Panera Bread or something?
Yeah, probably cold. Bastards.
And what happened to do this? Like, is he just sitting there eating the soup and he gets pissed and he's just like frisbees it at him?
It's like, bro, I know you see me eating my soup. You know you don't do this now.
Yeah,
He said,
it's
say it
like-
one more time. Say it one more
He's like
time.
trying
He starts off flinging it from the spoon and then the whole bowl.
Oh, Jesus.
According to Elias, Russell Westbrook's 19 40-point, 10 rebound games, he has 19 of those, trail only Michael Jordan, who has 32, by the most by a guard in the most. Holy shit.
Your reading sucks too, bro.
All right, send me everything.
come at me.
I'll start
Russell
reading.
Westbrook's 40-point, 10 rebound games. He has 19 of them. Trail only Michael Jordan, who has 32, for the most by a guard over the last 45 seasons.
That's incredible. I always said he was better than Michael Jordan.
Oh, God. You just wanted us to trade him.
As of Tuesday, Steven Adams, this is as of Tuesday, by the way, so it hasn't been updated. Steven Adams has made 164 shots off passes from Russell Westbrook this season, the most made shots directly off a teammate's passes for any duo. The top three round out with 140 from James Harden to Clint Capella and 137 from Westbrook to Carmelo Anthony.
Oh.
But that number has actually jumped up recently because Melo, or maybe the other guys, fell off because he was fourth like 3 weeks ago or
So is
something.
PG
Pretty
upset
crazy.
about this? He's like, hey, man.
He can go
why
get-
are these other two?
Yeah,
He can
His
go get his
own,
own
so
bucket.
you don't have to worry about
But
it.
that's crazy, the lead right there. 164 from Westbrook to Adams, and the next closest is Harden to Capella with 140.
It's pretty insane.
Pretty well. Steven Adams has an autobiography in the works.
I heard about that.
Pretty
That's
cool.
going to be
Yeah.
amazing.
Definitely read that.
I hope he makes an audiobook of it. That would be way
Oh,
better.
yeah.
That would be so good.
Damn, that's a
He's
good idea.
obviously got to narrate it. And last but not least, Devin Booker on what Russell Westbrook told him after the Suns game. He just told me to demand greatness out of your team, and it meant a lot coming from him. Before I was in the NBA, he was a player I didn't like. But since my rookie year, we exchanged words and we were talking trash a little bit. Ever since then, he's somebody I watch. His passion, his energy he brings every night is unbelievable. That's cool.
It's really cool of Russ.
Russ this year has like a newfound respect for other players. Have you guys noticed this?
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to see.
like he's kind of like become a father to them in a way.
It's like he's paying it forward. What the hell?
What is in these drinks? There's something.
Acid in mine, I think.
It has an ingredient that makes shit.
Flax seeds is what it is. I've never had those before.
You have to say everything that comes to your mind.
Yeah, I got another banana stick.
Oh, what a disaster this podcast is. Coming up next on Tuesday, the 15-win-in-a-row Rockets coming to town. Thunder have only played them once this year at home on Christmas
that
Day.
go?
Thunder won. No CP3 in that game, by the way, but tomorrow night we totally expect CP3 to play. It's going to be interesting. Going to be a big game. You win that game, then maybe your 11-6 outlook feels a little more like 12-5.
So they win if you win one more.
Well, all right. Thursday, the Suns are coming to town.
What if you win that one?
How many people are just turning this off by now?
13-4 for sure.
Well, I was saying that's maybe not a game you expect to win. All right.
Oh, God, I'm
Get it together,
These
fellas.
damn flax seeds, bro.
Thursday, the Suns come to town. The damn Suns that the Thunder struggle with. I believe the season series 1-1 in that. So Thunder at home all week this week. Saturday, the Spurs come to town 1-1 in that. That'll be a big game. It's a team that you're kind of fighting for position with. Guys, we're all at 5 points except for Jason, who's at 3 points. We don't know Justin's.
I don't have a loss in the year, though. So that's
That's
cool.
true. That's true.
cool for me.
But we want you to lose.
No, I don't want to. So I'm going 2-1.
2-1. What you got, Rob?
That's a good
Don't
prediction.
copy me.
I will.
Oh, he's going to go 2.
No, I was. That's tough.
Dude.
That is tough. I'll go 2-1.
Oh, God.
3-0, baby.
Oh God, I was gonna go 1-2 if I didn't go 2-1.
3-0. It's happening.
Oh gosh.
They're getting to 50 wins, I'm telling you.
I'm 13-4 right
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter at OKC Thunderhead. Subscribe on YouTube. You can watch every single podcast right there on YouTube. So if you haven't, you can watch them live. You can watch them after the fact, all that good stuff. Subscribe on iTunes. We're on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, Facebook, anywhere you can find podcasts. OKCThunderheads.com. Check us out. We will be back on... When will we be back?
I don't remember.
Probably Sunday.
Wednesday with a full pod.
Wednesday it is.
Yep,
Yeah.
we'll be back Wednesday. No aftershocks between now and then, just the Rockets game. So we'll catch you guys Wednesday. Until then, and as always, Thunder up.
See ya. Cheers.